Right, so I'm getting an early start at the beginning of week 4 of full-time building, week 3 of garden leave. Getting an early start because I've got short days for up until Wednesday this week. I've got to get back every day to meet the kids off the school bus, which is no chore, but means I've got limited time in the house. So I'm just going to go there. I'm going to stick the video on. I'm going to smash out all the little fiddly jobs in the bedrooms and in the attic, and then I'm going to focus on the hallway as I work my way down the stairs. So there's good news and there's bad news this morning. I'll start with the bad news. Number one, I had my council tax update for Radford Avenue, and they seem to have doubled it. They've put this extra line in the council tax, which is basically for the property not being lived in for over a year. Now, I've only owned the house since November. I've only owned the house 3 months. So, and all I've been doing since I've owned the house is trying to get it back in the condition so that people could live in it again. Like, the previous tenants just wrecked it. I understand that the lads that were brought in to clear the house after the tenants were kicked out were genuinely unwell as a result of the work of having to clear the house. So that's completely unfair. So I need to call them and say, hey, here's all my videos. All I'm trying to do is get this house back livable again. Like, can you take this line away? According to the internet, some councils are up for a bit of a conversation. And secondly, I need to take the floor joist out. It's rotten in the lounge. And I had a conversation with a guy in the council offices at the end of last year. He said, hey, if you've got to take things like joists out and roofs off, etc., then you can get a discount on your council tax. So the sooner I do that, then the sooner I can reduce that bill. I'm not going to pay any of this council tax until this is resolved. So at the end of the day, they can sell me these bills all day long, and I'm a highly compliant person. I generally don't want to get into trouble, but this isn't a company house. This is my house. Everything I buy from now will be a company house, and I might move this house into the company later if it makes sense to do so. So this is just a conversation between Daniel and the council. So that's bad news. Second piece of bad news is I've had a couple of quotes for the roof now, and they're all coming in at about £7,000 plus. So that's clearly the cost of the roof. Like, you might argue I don't need to replace the entire roof, but a lot of the moisture in the attic is as a result of sweating, because the liner that is underneath the roof tiles is a very old liner. It's an original liner. These days liners are breathable and they allow a house to ventilate much more quickly. So there's a whole bunch of really good reasons to replace the roof, and it would look better, and it would get rid of all the damp completely, and it would be guaranteed work, and yada yada. So I think I'm resigned to replacing the roof. It looks like the folks next door are not really up for contributing. I think their argument is, hey, our tenants don't have a wet house, so why are you even talking to us? So I'm going to do some work today, and I've brought my headphones with me so I can have all these difficult conversations. So to the good news. The good news is we had an offer accepted on another house for next week. So I'll buy this one as in my company name. So I'm wrapping all this up in a limited business, so as to protect me and my family if all of this goes wrong. But also so I can run it as a business where I, spend money and I make profit and I pay myself. Oh, there's one other bit of good news. I found online a used, refurbished DJI Osmo Pocket Cam. They're normally like £500 for a bundle. I think I found it for $360 with all the gubbins. That's a better camera for this sort of stuff. It's got a wider lens, it follows me around the room. I can operate it fully powered rather than relying on batteries. So last week I had the plasterer in to have a look at the attic just to make sure what I was doing was good enough, and he said it was absolutely fine, better than a lot of jobs he'd taken on as a plasterer after boarding. He did comment, however, that I didn't need to fill and scrim the joins upstairs. He goes, he doesn't mind me doing it, but I don't have to. And he advised instead I just got some super adhesive red fire join tape to go between the joins. It's really sticky. I've done one strip already and it sticks really easily. And he said his skim will just go along and fill in between that and fill the gaps. So that's going to be a lot quicker for me. So I'm going to crack on with that. So that didn't take long. I've only been here an hour and all of the joints are taped. It's really cool stuff. Bought it on Amazon, called High Tack Principal Pal. Endorsement. Nice and quick. It really sticks to the wall. I've had to double up in a couple of areas where the gaps are quite wide. I'm going to do some more boarding in this room, but I've got this amount of tape left on the first roll and I've got 2 more rolls, so I've got enough for another couple of houses, I think. Yeah, so that's gone really well. So now that I've taped the joints downstairs, I've come back up to the attic to finish off the fiddly stuff in here. I've got 3 cupboard surrounds to do and I've got 1 window surround to do. I'm going to tackle the cupboards first. Interestingly, I misunderstood Leon's instructions when I was thinking about doing these cupboards. Now he did this edge, and as you can see he's cut this board level with the cupboard opening, and what that means is we need to create a lip as we put the plywood in here, bring the plywood out by 15 mils so that the skim can go right up against it, flush with that ply edge of that plyboard. I misunderstood him. I didn't look at this cupboard when I was doing the other 2. On the other 2, what I've done is I've left the plyboard a 20 mil gap to put the plywood behind it. Now, either technique is okay according to Claude, my new AI companion. I've moved away from ChatGPT since I found out that they fund the terrible Donald Trump. But it's suggesting I should do it all the same way. So I'm going to have a go at this one. I'm going to cut some wood downstairs and I'm going to line this hole. I'm going to use some of my CT1 that I've had patiently waiting to be used, and I'm going to use screws. So that's all lined. And after that I can then start thinking about putting doors on it, etc. But the first thing to do is to align it so that it's ready for plastering. And if I'm happy with how that looks, I'll then go around all these other holes, these other 2 holes, and I'll trim that so that it's flush like Leon's cupboard, and then I can do the same technique. So I'm going to have to cut the plywood downstairs. I've got my track saw here, and I'm going to have to measure it all, write it all down, and then do it slowly. I'm sure by the time I get to the 3rd one I'll be really fast. And then I'm going to plasterboard this whole opening with I've got lots of odds and ends of plasterboard sheets that I can use to make that look neat and nice. 12.5 mil just about fits behind this air vent, so I don't have any physical restrictions with boarding out the window. The plaster man, neighbour Will, did say I could use 9 mil board to do that because you lose less of your aperture, but I don't have any 9 mil board, and I think 12.5 works. So I'm going to crack on with that, and I'll put the video on so you can watch. Cheers.
Everything that was in my way is gone. Only a matter of time before I get rid of the police. What do you think of that, Al? This is my perfect victory. That's right. I win.
So I've done my first one. I've just tacked it in for now because I'm not sure whether the plaster wants more or less than a 15mm edge, which is what I've measured at the minute, all the way down. So I just put 2 screws on each piece to hold it in place. As usual, the attic has bitten back. It's not quite square. I had to do some jiggery pokey with some edges and taper them slightly, but it's okay. It's fine for what it's supposed to be doing, which is to provide a frame for the hole and an edge for the skim to go up against.
It's a matter of time before I get rid of the police. What do you think of that, Al? This is my perfect victory! That's right!
Just a quick day today. So I've done the taping downstairs and I've done all of these cupboard edges. I'm pretty pleased with them. I've got better and better and better with the track saw as I've gone along, and this last one has actually been super accurate. Managed to slightly over trim the plasterboard there, but we'll put some other lovely new red tape in there and the plasterer can fill that. So it's Tuesday of week 4 of full-time doing buildery stuff. Week 3 of garden leave. Today it's about finishing all the rooms so they're ready to plaster. I've booked the roof to be started on the 31st of this month, which is about 13-14 days time. So finishing these rooms now so that they're ready for plastering once the roof's been fixed is today's task. I've got window areas to board out in this floor, the attic, and also the first floor in the 2 bedrooms, and then I've got some wood to fix up. I've decided that this door is going to swing this way, because if it swings that way it's then in your way when you walk in the room, and if it swings that way then you fall down and probably die. So I'm going to sand all this up. I'm going to cut out all this splintered wood. I've got this wood filler that I'm going to use to fill that in, rather than trying to chop some piece of wood in there, which you sometimes see on the Instagram and stuff, but I don't want to do that. It's not going to be load bearing, this. I'm going to hang the door off this side, because so the door can swing against this dead wall. Cool, so I'll put the video on and I'll do all these fiddly bits. Tomorrow Will is here, so we can do some more heavy stuff tomorrow. Anyway, I've only got 4 hours on site because I'm super dad this week, and oh, I left my multi-tool here last night. I shouldn't leave tools here. Naughty boy. Anyway, crack on. So I'm about halfway through doing this windowsill in the attic, and I've learned a few things. Number one, I think, as I learned yesterday with the cupboard edges, this concept of leaving a lip on the wall that is 12.5 mils to accommodate the board so it's nice and flush is extremely difficult to do. Downstairs on the windowsills, I've cut this flush with the edge, and the board that I'm putting on the inside of the sill will be the edge. That's just much easier. And then the second thing is this whole measure twice, cut once thing is just so real for me. It's so difficult. I keep measuring from different points and having to cut twice. So anyway, I've got this last bit here to do. I'm going to order some beading. I've just been researching with my AA partner the beading I need to here. It's basically a plastic edge that will go all the way down here, but then leave a little lip to allow for a 2 or 3 mil skim come that moment. And then when I've been researching how much I need on that lip to accommodate the skim, I've realised I've left these cupboard surrounds way too protruding. They should also just be 2 or 3 mils from the surface of the plasterboard. I misunderstood the research that I've done I think it basically meant make sure it's covering at least 15 mils inside the hole, and obviously I've got 15 centimeters of surface there, so I didn't think for a second that there was a minimum for that. But anyway, I'm either going to move these in. I've only tacked them all with screws because I didn't know that that was the correct depth. I assumed it might be different, and so I had already just tacked them in so that I can relocate them later. I've got a decision to make. Either I put alcove, alcatraz, alcaraz, something beginning with A, around the cupboard, like a sort of decorative surrounding. I think on the cupboard that's already in the bedroom they've got that, but I just think it looks really old-fashioned, and I wanted to make these kind of like secret doors to Narnia. Yeah. So if I'm going to put alcatraz around the outside, alcove, alcatraz, oh fuck, then having a lip is fine. I've got something to basically cover it up, but I don't think I'm going to do that, so I'm going to relocate them. But I'll wait until the plaster is here to confirm how much he wants them proud of the surface. Anyway, so I'll finish up this window now, and then I'll what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the sander lightly around this room, which will be tremendously dusty, so I'll put my face mask on just to take any of the last rough edges off. I know I don't need to, I just don't want it to look crappy. I've got this thing going on in my head which I know is wasting time, but I've got to make it look neat. It'll only be a light just dusting on the worst bits. Anyway, I'll do that, and I'll go to the first floor and I'll knock out those window sill surrounds, or window surrounds, and that'll be a better job than that one, because as I said, I've cut the edge of the plaster in line with the window surround, I think, so I can bring the boards to be the edge. Anyway, lovely sunny day outside. Still got a couple of hours left before I've got to go home for the kids. So it's cool finishing off these kind of fiddly bits, getting the places ready for plaster. I'll get back to it. Blah, blah, blah. So the job here on the first door frame is pretty much done. It's quite smooth, it's quite straight, there's a little bit of cutting to do there, but I'll wait for it to fully cure now, and then when I degloss this and reboard it, then that's a nice flat surface to work from. So you would never know there was any kind of domestic fun at this point, and we're moving on to being in a position to board up this doorway in this room. It's pretty much good to plaster. So it's nearly the end of Tuesday. I did the window frame upstairs, I did the broken door frame upstairs, and I've done this window frame. I'm going to try and get the last window frame done before I head out today, which is just here. I'm getting much faster at doing these, just as I finish them as usual, and then tomorrow I'll come back and I'll start dealing with these ugly internal walls and start building out the plates, potentially start building out the plates for the shelving in here. But it's going well. Short days so far this week because of kids and stuff. Right, so this is new camera day, and the camera, it's a second-hand camera, but it's a little bit more delicate than the GoPro. Like, I've got to be careful not to get it too dusty and stuff, but it follows my face around the room. Right, so all the window surrounds are done and all the cupboard surrounds are done. I've got a bit of boarding to do on the exit to the attic room yet, but I wanted to make some progress on this wall. So this is quite an ugly wall. I want to cover it with plasterboard. As you can see, the wall kind of bends round, so it's not straight. So I'm going to have to be quite smart about how I batten this in a way which provides a flat fascia. I had a little idea to put a sliding door in. Actually, I didn't have that idea. My new neighbour had that idea, but I can't be bothered. It would be a great idea, but they're very fiddly to fit. I've never done one, and I'd have to build the structure for the door to flow into. And I don't want to slow down, so I'm just going to board it and find a narrow door to go in there. Right, so I'm going to give that a go. Now I'm going to figure out how to do this. I might have to plane some surfaces, so they're absolutely flat. I've got the planer today. That wood is already in line, so it's just a question of working out how I can bridge that gap. Nice long beam along the middle, which I can use as one tether point for plasterboard. And I guess if I do plasterboard top to bottom, I guess that could prove quite useful to every sheet. That's a good idea. Got to turn the power off to do the sockets, but I've done that so many times now, I'm a bloody expert. Anyway, I shall crack on with this and figure out how to make it look nice. I'm going to board it all the way across there as well. So I think I'll board it up to here and then all the way around there, so it's a nice clean wall, and then I can start working on other things as well. So it's Thursday of week 4 of full-time buildingness and week 3 of garden leave. So we're back in the attic and we are just finishing off these sections here and doing the last bit of boarding and then sanding the room round. So this room at that point is absolutely done. Might pop some insulation when I get a bit over the loft areas, but nothing substantial yet to do. Will's here today, and so we're going to concentrate on the hallway. Will's stripping the wallpaper off now. We may have an issue with the ceiling in here, which is cracked. Probably not helped by the moisture coming in from the leaking roof. I think my plan in here will be to just put a full ceiling in. I'll just put some wood around the top of that wall and nail a plasterboard panel to it. So it's the end of Thursday. It's not really the end of Thursday, but I've run out of energy. Will and I have attacked the hallway. We've sanded down all of the gloss surfaces and taken off most of the wallpaper from the hallway. Tomorrow I'm going to come in and carry on in that area. I'm going to do the stairs. The stairs I think need lots of repairs. I'll just show you now, one second. Take the tracking mode off. So these stairs probably are okay, the ones going up to the attic. But they just need all of this varnish taken off and taken back to maybe a more original colour. As you can see, we've done all of the deglossing here and taken off most of the wallpaper there. Will's just steaming the electrical socket downstairs because he's really safe. These stairs here are, however, are quite badly damaged, so there's going to need to be a plan to resolve that. So underneath, structurally, I think they need some reinforcement. And sorry, that noise in the background is my new battery charger that plays a song when it's finished. So yes, behind the stairs, there's been some structural repairs by someone who I assume, had several beers before they did the work. And then on the front edges, all of the noses are all worn. Now I suspect this was covered with carpet before, but I think the premium look is either bare stairs or a runner. And if we're going to do that, we're going to have to strip them back to the wood colour and then do something with these worn noses. You can buy these things called nose plates, which kind of go over the end of the step, but I've not seen them, and the ones I've seen on the internet look terrible. They look really cheap and nasty, so I don't think this is a filler job. I think because it's going to be structural, I wouldn't want somebody stepping on a nose and the filler giving way. So we could look at other options like replacing the stair. But for now, for this week, I think I've done well if we've sanded all the stairs down. We've managed to make the banister a lot more secure. I did that by putting... Did you see that then? Yes. Sorry, I've got this new camera and it's got a mind of its own. Put it back on tracking mode. Did that by just screwing it from all angles towards the base. Seems to have done a job. Just by giving it lots of spiking forces. There's still a bit of a disaster on the left-hand wall down the stairs. Take tracking mode off. As you can see there's a great big hole where the plaster's blown. So we'll strip that back to the point in which it no longer crumbles off the wall, and then we'll probably do a job of filling that in. So yeah, I mean, this didn't take an enormous amount of work to sand it all down. One more day tomorrow on the stairs, I think, with the orbital sander. Might have to get some more sanding sheets, but that works quite well. It's probably going to be about 10 minutes a step, 15 minutes a step. All of the gloss that we'll retain is being taken off, and then I've got a job here to rebuild this door frame because I've made the wall deeper, and that will leave actually quite a you fell downstairs. That will leave quite a narrow door, so I'm going to have to do some checks online to make sure we can actually get a door that can accommodate such a small gap. But yeah, in here we've started building out the cupboard frames. I'm going to buy some metal work to go in the corners. I don't really want to drill through this new party wall, and then rather than getting the plasterer to plaster behind these plates or these wooden studs, I'm going to just put plyboard against the wall. I thought that was an executive decision that I made about 10 minutes ago, so that one, the plastering doesn't have to be more complicated, but secondly, so that it's immediately a cupboard. I mean, the plywood surface against the inside of that cupboard will immediately look like a storage area. And if it's 15mm or more plywood, then I can probably drill some screws into that to add shelves or hanging bars or something similar. Yeah, so another really good week. This is the 4th week of full-time book, 3rd week of gardening leave. A few people from my old job are starting to realise that I'm not there anymore, and I'm having some lovely messages from them, so thank you to all of those people. Yes, this is a crazy idea. So it's Friday of week 4 of being full-time, 3rd week of garden leave, and I've woken up today with very achy arms and slightly achy knees, and maybe a desire for more sleep, but I couldn't be more excited about going to work, and I haven't felt like this for as long as I can remember. And the reason for that is the house is really moving on fast. Next week we should have a lot of people on site from about Wednesday onwards, doing plumbing, getting the boiler going, laying the floor in the bathroom, doing the initial electrical bits and bobs. There will be some shrapnel from that. They will tear up some floorboards, they will break some walls, I'll have to fix them, and there'll be an episode of me going, oh, I already did this once, because I haven't quite got my sequencing right. But I'm excited, because it's getting there. Now today, I'm gonna do something that nobody has told me to do. Everything that I've done so far in the house, whether it be battening, insulation, clearing out rooms, thinking about layout, adding cupboards, putting spotlights in some rooms, not having spotlights in other rooms, these have all been on the advice of my lovely network. Just trying to pull out of a junction where nobody wants to indicate today. It's not indicating day. Yeah, so all the things I've done so far have been on the advice of friends and family in my network, but today I've decided to do something that I have not been advised to do. So I often get these signals and opinions, like doing the walls, for example. There was people giving me different ideas, dot and dab or batten, so I did the research, worked out which was the right advice and why, etc. And it was really good. It doesn't make up for lots of years of experience, but it's a fast track to get started. On this occasion, I'm feeling sentient. I'm feeling like I am leaving the egg of learning and making my own way. So, as you would have seen from the video yesterday, I'm starting to put a frame around the alcoves in the second bedroom, and I was toiling over, should I do this now? or shall I wait until the plastering's done, because it's going to be super fiddly to plaster behind the alcove front. But I really wanted to carry on, you know. Sequencing is everything, but doesn't mean I can't get excited and do stuff. Then I had a real think about it, and as I mentioned yesterday, it doesn't really make sense to plaster inside the alcove areas, because they're going to become cupboards or they're going to become shelves, and they are people are going to put stuff in there like clothes, rolled up t-shirts, whatever, and they're not going to want to push that against a plastered wall, even if it's painted. It needs to be like the inside of a cupboard. So I was thinking plywood yesterday, because I did some plywood work on Monday when I did the cupboard surrounds upstairs. Now plywood's really strong and it's really good for screwing into, but it is expensive. For the cupboard insides, I was looking on Google last night, and it was suggesting MDF could be a better alternative. Firstly, it paints better apparently, and then secondly, it's cheaper. Now it doesn't take a screw quite as well, but that's only from the edges. Straight on it's fine, especially if you use you know, a roll plug or something to give it strength. So the issue I've got in these alcoves is that some of the walls I could screw into, and some of them I could screw into, but I just don't want to. Now I know that makes the whole structure quite you know, that could limit the, so I'm just putting my thumb up at the guy that's got the same truck as me that drives past me every day on this road. We both got yellow Fords and we just love going anyway, so I'm going to use MDF. I'm going to go to UPL first. I'm going to get a couple of sheets of MDF. I'm not going to get enough to do the whole job. I'm just going to do one today to see how it turns out, and if it works structurally then I can go and get some more. If it doesn't work out, then I have wasted the least amount of money and time. Because I'm out of the egg of learning, I'm having to, which way am I going? This way. I'm having to think about doing these things in stages. I've also got another cupboard in the attic that I need to put some sort of interior on, because it'll also be a cupboard for storing stuff. The one that's next to the ugly wall that we've covered up, not the ones into the loft areas, because we'll just insulate those with some nice fluffy stuff. I might see if they've got some fluffy stuff today, at least buy that, make the trip worth it. Anyway, so good week. I mean, from a construction point of view, which is my job, before the specialists come in, before I go back into construction afterwards doing things like decorating and skirting and stuff, I'm done on the first and second floor pretty much. So, you know, going up, I'll do this alcove today, see how it works out, and then I'll spend every other minute of the day working on the hallway and the stairs. Did a lot of work yesterday with Will on the on taking the gloss off the surfaces. They will all need some level of filler on them, you know, because they're lumpy bumpy. Either lumpy bumpy because they're lumpy bumpy, or because they had lumps knocked out of them by domestic fun in the house, or because I've sanded paint off on one section, not another. So they'll need a smearing of filler to make them nice and smooth. But that's enjoyable work. That's quite cathartic to do that. I don't mind doing that stuff, and it's not urgent. You know, people will still be going up and down the stairs and the hallways for some time, so there's no need to make it nice yet, because they'll only scratch it with their big elbows and stuff. Anyway, so I'm on the way to Kidderminster now. It's a really misty day. We had sun for the last 2 days. We had 21 degrees yesterday, and today it's all misty, so I hope the sun burns through it, because it's my daughter's 6th birthday this weekend, and I hope she has a lovely weather for it. So yeah, we're going full on, and as I say, we've got the second house in the bag, so that'll be going through solicitor and legal process in the next 2 weeks, and it might even be the case that while I'm waiting for things to be done in the first house, I'm already going to the second house and starting to clear it out, which would be like a business. The houses are actually like 12 minutes apart. So this first house I bought is a Daniel house, and that's a problem from a business entity point of view, but because it's an oddity. Like, how do I administer that house as house-wise the business, or the business that I've got? Second house we're going to buy as the business. The first one I just couldn't buy it as a business. I was an employee of an organisation that didn't want me to take paid director positions in other businesses. So I could sell the first house to the business, but I'd have to pay stamp duty, and that would be on the new value, which would be very expensive. Or I can charge myself management fees for the house if I'm a landlord. But that's tricky. You have to prove that you actually are doing something for the money. Or I can just flip it and take the change. But because I've put so much energy into it, it's weird, this feeling. I don't want to sell it. I want to enjoy the asset now that I've improved it. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. I've got a smile on my face on my way to work. I love my new job. I haven't paid myself yet and don't plan to do that for a long time, but the actual thought of going and making things better, improving it, constructing things, seeing the tangible results immediately, and then having people saying that's a really good job, like I've had a few times, people have come around and had a look, etc. It's just wonderful. So yeah, big smiley grin today, and hopefully I'll get some good footage of alcove building. Anyway, peace out. So I was halfway through getting ready to cut this beast of a piece of MDF with my track saw, and the power's gone off. The power's been mucking around all day since the light switch went. That Rent by Will was steaming yesterday. So I'm just gonna try some other plugs and see whether we've got an overall wiring issue, or try and find the fault. I'm trying to rack my brains as to what else. The fuses haven't gone. I get the three scenarios are: we've got an electrical supply fault, I haven't paid the bill, or the saw's just died. One of the three. I'm going to figure it out and then get back to this job. So that was good. I don't think the camera followed me all the way. Yeah, I'm going to stop doing these pieces to camera. I'm just going to crack on with the work today, otherwise I'll be here all day talking to the camera. But yes, the piece has been successfully cut in half. I believe it's the correct size to go on the back wall of the right hand alcove upstairs. So I'm going to go up there now, hopefully fit it in place, get some CT1 on it, and then move on to the side pieces. Cool. So I've gone to fit the first piece and I realised that 8 foot is not exactly 2.4 metres, so I've got to cut the top off. I'm going to keep recording. So, we are making good progress with the MDF lining of the cupboard area. Experiment number 1. It's going in quite nicely. And it looks nice, it feels nice. I would definitely roll my socks up against that. Not sure about pantaloons. Anyway, so here come doth tricky bit. This here is a plasterboard wall that I put on there. And I need to somehow fix this joist to this wall, but I'm really not keen to just smash up the drywall with plugs. But I just remembered in my brain, big brain moment, on this ugly wall there was a long thin beam going across the middle of the wall. So if I look back at my videos of me doing the plasterboarding, then I will be able to work out what height that is and at least have 2 good anchor points on this. So we've done the first experiment. I'm 8 out of 10 happy with it. I'm more happy with the strength of it than I expected, because I found that piece of old wall I could drill into. And I've used some braces that I had in the garden shed to keep the top in place. It's very solid. I slightly miscut the right hand side, and I've left a gap at the back, but I can fill that with a nice caulk, if indeed I even want to do that. But the experiment has worked in that I've now got a nice cupboard face, and I'll do the same over there next week, and it doesn't need to be plastered. It's a finished surface now, so I can build some cupboards or shelves there, whatever I want to, etc. But I can leave that now for the plasterer, and he can plaster right up against that edge. And I'll just take the tracking off, turn the camera around and show you. So it's all lined, left, back and front. These bits of wood are just in here to hold it in place while the CT1 sets. There's a little gap here, as I say. It's quite a big gapish. I can almost get my finger in there. Because this isn't a linear from top to bottom measurement. I keep getting caught out by that. I should take a middle measurement as well, so that I can come up with the same problem every time I say that out loud. I don't know how I use a track saw to resolve that, but either way, if I want to seal it, or I could just put some beading in there. Beading might be cheaper, just to nail some beading in there, the sort of stuff that you put along the side of a skirting wood or an edge, just to kind of finish it off nicely. But getting a bit fussy now. This isn't a house I'm going to live in, this is a house that just needs to last. So yeah, this is nice and strong on that side, doesn't move, anchored there, anchored the bottom, anchored at the top. So for the rest of the day now, it's only 12:30 on Friday. I'm hungry, I'm going to have to order some food. I forgot to bring a yellow Huel banana thing. I think I might have drank 2 yesterday by accident. So now that I've done that, I know that I can do it. And over here, I'll do a bigger one, but the same design. Exactly the same again. Only this time I might make that shelves, and I might make this a cupboard, I don't know. Might be slightly easier to keep it open because there's not a lot of room for doors to swing in and swing out, but yeah, at this point don't have to worry about final design because I can finish that off later when the room's getting decorated and stuff. This is a 20mm face gap between the stud here, not the stud here, the stud here, and the fascia. I'm not adding to this wall, I'm just going to decorate it, sand it and give it some paint. So when I put a 20mm plyboard face on that, it'll be exactly the same depth, so it'll look nice. It'll almost hide the fact that that's a chimney breast to an extent. Yeah, so experiment worked. I now need to put my dust mask on and just spend the rest of the time and the energy I've got left this week on the stairs, starting at the top and working my way down. Right, so I've had a good clear up, and with the last couple of hours of the day, the week in fact, I'm going to give the stairs a really good go. Now yesterday I tried doing the stairs with the orbital sander with a very low spec disc, so a lower number. So the lower the number, the more coarse it is. And it did get all the varnish off the surface, and it did start to bring out the natural paints below, sorry, the natural wood colour below the many surfaces that have been slapped on the stairs over the last 100 years or so. But I'm one for experimentation, and recently I was involved in painting a metal fence at a school. I got involved by saying, I'll do that. Anyway, I looked for every possible way to do that as quickly as possible because it was an enormous metal fence. And so I started using the tools that I was affixing to the angle grinder. I was using things like this. Now this is a metal, really coarse, really solid tool that spins around really fast on the angle grinder. And it's quite good for taking paint off metal fences, but it will probably go through the wood here. So I'm going to give these scratchy pads a try. I found them in the shed this morning. In the workshop, sorry. I assume I bought these when I was doing the metal fence as an alternative to the metal scratchy things, but never got them out of the wrapper. So I'm going to give them a go and see if I can just speed up the process. I don't mind taking my time over it, but if I can do it quicker and get more done today, that makes sense. It's definitely a dust mask moment. I keep forgetting to put it on. Also, earlier I got something in my eye when I had these on top of my head. So I'm definitely still an idiot. And as my friend said, you've got to look after your eyes because you can't see, no, hear titties. Right, so this is really working. You can't see it. I'll put my light on my watch on. But compared to that step there, I've done that step there in about 2 minutes. So that's 8 minutes quicker than the orbital sander, and probably better than the orbital sander. It's not chunking the wood out. It's just taking the varnish off, and it's barely affected on the actual surface of the paddy thing. So this is a good idea. I'm going to use this thing. It's quite difficult to film. When I put it on tracking mode, it just follows my face, and if I try and point it at the step, then I'll have to keep moving it. There's probably a role for the GoPro still in these moments, because I could probably put it in harm's way a bit more than this slightly more delicate thing. So what I'll do is I'll do some more steps, and then I'll film them when they're done. Right, sit rep. Yeah, these sponge pads are the right thing to take the surface off all of these stairs nice and quickly. But two things to report. One is, yes, the stairs are coming up a nice kind of golden brown colour. They will need a sanding afterwards to finish them, but the bulk of the varnish and the detritus is coming off. But the pads do get used up. This is now almost finished as a pad. So I've got 5 more, I think. So I can only go as far today as I've got pads, and then I'll order some more. I think I got them from the eBay or somewhere like that. But they're brilliant. I was just thinking about all the jobs that I've done in the past by hand, that this would have been easier to do. And the second thing is, as usual, the angle grinder is a battery killer. So I'm having to manage the batteries. It does about 3 steps per battery, maybe 4. But it's important not to put batteries back on charge when they're really hot. So I've got 1 on the charger, 1 cooling down, 1 on the machine, 1 in reserve charged to try and turn them over. The 4 battery charger is only 3 amp, which means it doesn't charge the batteries in a balanced way if you've got all 4 batteries on the plug connected. It can't divide that amperage by the number of cells in each battery, so I'm just using 2 slots in that with 5 amp hour batteries, and it's still quite slow. So it's good for an overnighter when every single cell can be fully filled up properly, but it's not good for like fast charging. So I'm going to crack on and see how far I get. Right then, we're at packing up time on Friday. Looking forward to my first pint. I think I will inhale it. So I started doing the stairs and made a bit of progress. I think it's the sort of job that needs a corded grinder, because it's a very powerful grinder, that Makita, but for continuous use it just goes through the batteries, and it also gets really hot. Actually, at one point I couldn't even change the tool on the end of it because it was too hot. But I've gone through a couple of these spongy things. I have to remember where I got them from and order about 20 more, I think, for the whole job. If it's very successfully cleaned away all the paint from between the banister gaps, and then, as you can see on the stairs, it's brought out the pine quite nicely. It'll need going over with a sander afterwards to make it nice and even. There's still some spots, and there are some areas I can't quite get to with the grinder that I'll need to figure out how to sort out, but that's as far as I got before the batteries all just said to me, no more. All very hot. So it's been a very good week. Really enjoyed this week. Really pleased with how that worked out. We'll do the same there next week. There's a couple of things I've got to get done at the beginning of next week so that we're ready for the people coming to do work on the house. So I've got to get the ceiling sorted out in the bathroom. We'll carry on with the stairs, probably one more day on the stairs. The plasterer has been in to quote for the job. He'll do it over a weekend, hopefully. First 2 floors, and then, first floor and attic to start with, and then do the kitchen and the ground floor afterwards. We're nice and tidy and organised. All of our bits and bobs are all nicely organised in here. I like that sort of thing. It got to a point in the house where I was just falling over everything, so I got some plastic boxes in and made it all neat and tidy. Also much easier to burgle as well. So yeah, we're good. Looking forward to getting to the point where it's just decorating for me here and upwards. So jobs maybe to finish next week, as I mentioned, the rest of the stairs, ceiling in the bathroom. I'll insulate the loft areas, and I'll just create temporary doors on those gaps. I'll line the cupboard upstairs in the same way that I've lined this alcove in here. So I only bought 2 pieces of 8x4 MDF today. So I've got one whole one left because we only used one to do that one. But obviously that alcove's a lot bigger, so I'll need to get at least one more to do that one, and then probably a third to do the cupboard upstairs. So they're about £22 including VAT per sheet. I don't know why I say including VAT, because domestic properties are VAT exempt and therefore there's nothing for me to claim back. But anyway, I did. So the plasterer is going to give me a quote to get this done. He can start from the moment the roof is fixed. He'll do it over a weekend. Plumbers and electricians coming in next week, which is great. Because today the switch blew up and went bang very loud, and I'd like to get a bit safer here, plus get the sockets all in the right place. Yeah, good week, good progress, happy, tired, but good tired, like I've used my energy really efficiently, and I've got lots done. And I'm even starting to think about the next house and how I might tackle that one a bit differently. I've had lots of comments about this wall technique that I've used. It is belt and braces. A lot of people would have just dot and dabbed it and put insulated plasterboard in. I didn't do that. It'll be a really nice warm dry house as a result of the way I have done it. But the main reason I didn't choose to use the advanced thermal and waterproof plasterboards was because I couldn't pick it up. It's just bloody heavy. So I'm happy with this technique. I think I could do this again twice as quickly if I was doing the house again. So if I do have any exterior walls in the next house that have the damp issue, then I'll use this technique again, to be honest. And I've probably got enough spare Celotex or equivalent and board left here to do, you know, a third of this house again, because I slightly over ordered. What I've learned from AI tools, ChatGPT, which has now been usurped by Claude, is they do slightly over order for you when you give them all the measurements to create a shopping list. They kind of assume a percentage of waste that's unnecessary. So yeah, good. The weather's also very nice now. It's definitely spring here in lovely Kidderminster. So I think once we've done all the jobs I've just mentioned, I'll clear the house out again with rubbish, and we'll get Ben the rubbish man to come and do another run for us. And at that point, I think we can start thinking about clearing up the garden. It needs a new fence. That fence along there is mine to change. I'll make it a 6-foot one, and then we'll flatten it and put some slabs down and some fake grass and all those modern things that people do to increase the appeal of the house. Plus we'll paint the walls white, bright white, so that it's a lovely garden space. Yeah, anyway, it's my daughter's 6th birthday this weekend, Georgina. So I'm going to go home, and she's so excited about being 6 years old. At breakfast this morning, she's like, I can't believe I'm 6. So we've got a weekend of fun ahead for her birthday, which is going to be lovely. And then I'm back here next week. As I say, Nipples and Crimps and a few other folks are coming here on site to do their jobs, and then we'll be able to plan the ground floor. I still haven't been to Howden's to plan a kitchen yet, but I will literally run out of things to do on the 1st and 2nd floor next week, so I will do that next week. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did enjoy that video and you are enjoying the channel, please subscribe, please press the bell, please like. The audience is growing, and I'm really enjoying sharing all of these experiences. And it's really nice to get the comments back and the messages, etc., from people. It makes up for the fact that I don't have any work colleagues here. Anyway, thanks very much.